6. That is how many players were drafted for Quinn Hughes in the 2018 NHL Draft. Quinn Hughes, as I record this video, has 49 points in 60 games this season. And on this graph, we have the top drafted defenseman from the past decade. And Quinn Hughes sits second with a .82 point per game average, only behind Cale Makar, who currently sits with a whopping .84 point per game average. And this is where everyone else sits. Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar are far above any other defenseman in terms of offensive production. Rasmus Dahlin at a .6, which is still considered spectacular. Aaron Ekblad at a .46, a previous Calder winner. Morgan Riley, Thomas Chabot, Victor Hedman. And when you consider the development curve of a defenseman, Hughes' offensive production this early into his career is truly remarkable. And I might get some comments on just the amount of games played for Makar and Quinn Hughes, but find me a single example of another defenseman from the past decade who broke in and was able to just dominate this offensively in the rookie season. It just doesn't exist. And Quinn Hughes is the modern day NHL defenseman. But Hughes isn't just offensive, but he also has a very respectable defensive game that's been getting more and more reliable and better as each game passes by. The 2019-2020 rookie race is special. It has been decades since we've seen a defenseman this special in terms of running the offensive side, let alone two in both Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, and not to mention others like Adam Fox and John Marino. So why were 6 players drafted for Quinn Hughes in the 2018 NHL Draft? In today's video, we're going to take a look at Quinn Hughes' story and how he developed into the superstar he is today. And we're also going to take a look at the 6 players drafted ahead of Hughes and how their careers have panned out so far. But do keep in mind, we're only 2 years out for the 2018 NHL Draft, so of course, development curves vary. And before I start this video, comment down below which player you want to see next in this video format. And in the future, I want to change the format and structure of this video, kind of do something a bit different, and make sure to hit that subscribe button for some more awesome hockey content. Quinn Hughes, who was born in Atlanta, Florida, grew up playing minor league hockey in Boston, and then eventually moved to Toronto where his game flourished. And Quinn grew up in the definition of a hockey family. His dad, Jim, played college hockey and eventually ended up working for the Toronto Marlies as an assistant coach, and then Jim eventually transferred to being a director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Quinn's mom, Ellen, was also a great hockey player. She even took home a silver medal for the USA in the World Championships, and Quinn even attributes the development of his skating to his mom, as both of his parents were strong factors in the development of his game. So it's safe to say that hockey runs in the Hughes family. Quinn, who's developing into an NHL superstar, Jack, who was the 2019 first overall pick, and their younger brother Luke, who's been developing into a potential high-end draft pick for the 2021 draft. Quinn Hughes has always been a highly skilled puck-moving defenseman with really just unlimited potential. A bit undersized, but his skill level was just tremendous. And Hughes would transition into the USDP in 2015 and made an instant impact as that offensive defenseman at the age of 15, where he put up 11 points in 34 USHL games. And the next season, Hughes would see massive strides in his development, 26 points in 26 games. In fact, Quinn led his entire teams in points as an underage defenseman. And this USDP team was not the same team we saw last year, and Hughes just dominated that blue line and truly elevated his offensive capabilities while developing his confidence. That is probably Hughes' biggest just positive trait we see today. Quinn Hughes would then enter the NCAA system and he would not skip a beat. 29 points in 37 games as a freshman offensive defenseman, and in terms of a comparable, Cale Makar had a respectable 21 points in 34 games in his freshman season. Hughes would also take home the bronze medal in the World Juniors, and Quinn would also make it into the lineup of the men's World Championship team as a draft eligible, which is a very rare feat, and he would yet again take home another bronze medal. And the next season, Quinn would continue to develop his tremendous offensive toolset, 33 points in 32 games on a struggling University of Michigan team. And even though his Michigan season did not turn out very well, his season ended in a prolific manner as Hughes stepped into the Canucks lineup with 5 games remaining, and he was an absolute stud. As he put up 3 points in 5 games, and I'm not even exaggerating, is that Quinn Hughes could have easily had 10 points in those 5 games. He was hands down the Canucks' best defenseman in those games. And this season, Quinn has single-handedly surpassed all expectations by a mile. 49 points in 60 games, and what makes the stat line even more spectacular is that Hughes is truly getting better as each game passes by. In fact, in the month of February, Quinn has an astounding 15 points in 11 games, well over a point per game in a time period where most rookies experience a steep decline in production, and Quinn Hughes is about to take home Rookie of the Month. Because this season, Quinn has just been a superstar for the Vancouver Canucks, And without Quinn, I truly believe the Canucks would be nowhere near a playoff spot, as Quinn has single-handedly added an entirely new dynamic to the Canucks, a dynamic the Canucks have been missing for decades, in a true offensive defenseman. Now, let's take a look at the 6 players drafted for Quinn Hughes in the 2018 NHL Draft. At number 6, the Detroit Red Wings selected Filip Zadina, and this one is extremely confusing, because on one hand it does make sense. Zadina was ranked as a top 3 talent and fell all the way down to the 6th selection. But on the other hand, Quinn Hughes was the perfect fit for the Red Wings system. He was a University of Michigan star, and the Detroit Red Wings were in need of replenishing their defensive pool. And on top of this, Ken Holland, who was the Red Wings general manager at the time, would also hint at Quinn many times throughout the draft, so I was shocked when they passed on Hughes for Zadina. But in the Red Wings' defense, Zadina was a prolific scorer in the QMJHL, and he had also put on a showcase in the World Juniors, putting up 7 goals in 7 games. So in terms of raw talent, I definitely understand why they'd jump on Zadina, just still a bit surprising they'd miss on that, perfect fit for the Red Wings system. And Zadina in the next season will play in the HL for the Grand Rapids Griffins, and Zadina would play well, putting up 35 points in 59 games, which is definitely very respectable. However, a lot of people were ragging on Zadina because of his comments on lighting up every team that passes on him in the draft. However, this season Zadina has bounced back very strongly, and has been once again displaying the traits of that high-end goal-scoring winger that he was drafted to be. 15 points in 28 games, and after a very rocky road, Zadina has a very promising future, especially on a Detroit Red Wings team that is in the middle of a rock-bottom rebuild, hoping they take home that first overall pick to draft Alexis Lafreniere, which kind of reminds me, that's going to be an interesting situation, because they have Larkin, they have Mantha, they have Zadina, and if they do draft Lafreniere, what's that going to mean for Zadina? So once again, maybe they should have drafted Hughes, but we'll see, only time will tell. At number 5, the Arizona Coyotes go off the board and draft Barrett Hayton, who coming to this draft was ranked around that 10 to 15 mark, so this was definitely a draft day surprise. However, Hayton's development is definitely not disappointing. Coming into the 2018 NHL Draft, Hayton was pushed down a very stacked Greyhounds team. And he still produced well and displayed the traits of an all-around two-way game. In fact, I always found him to be pretty reminiscent of Bo Horvat. And Hayton would continue to develop very well in the OHL, a huge jump in production, 66 points in 39 games. And this season, Hayton has continued to show strong progression, a point per game in the HL, a short stint with the Coyotes, and he was the captain of Team Canada in a gold medal finish where he put up 12 points in 7 games. At number 4, the Ottawa Senators jumped on Brady Tkachuk, which was actually pretty criticized at the time. I never understood it, because Tkachuk is the modern day power forward, and at the age of 20, Brady's already developing an extremely valuable tool set. He's limited skills, but it's the definition of that sandpaper player you want in your lineup. He battles very hard in corners, he scores, he passes, he fights, and he is second in the entire NHL in hits. Second, at the age of 20 years old. That is just crazy. And he's only 10 hits behind Ryan Reeves at the age of 20. I just find that to be an amazing stat line. And Tkachuk has slowly but surely been becoming one of my favorite players in the NHL. And as fights and hitting start to fade away, a player like Tkachuk will just win you games. And throughout the past couple years, the Senators have made some pretty bad decisions, but Brady definitely was not one of them. And on a side note, Brady and Quinn Hughes are best friends. At number 3, the Montreal Canadiens go even farther off the board as they draft Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who is ranked by many scouts outside the top 10. But this move is just another example of the importance and emphasis of drafting centermen, and why we are continuing to see this trend up until today. However, Jesperi has definitely proved why he was selected high. 34 points in 79 games last season, and he's showing the traits of that potential high-end two-way centerman. I will say though, this season has definitely not been as prolific. Jesperi produced a dismal 8 points in the first 36 games, and he ended up getting shipped down to the HL. But he has been producing well with 10 points in 10 games, and even though this situation is a bit concerning, personally I'm not concerned whatsoever. He still has a high-end upside. He has a great two-way tool set, and in this situation where he's playing more minutes in the HL, this is going to be crucial for his development in the long term. At number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes draft Andrei Svechnikov. And Svechnikov has developed into a superstar. He broke into the league, he wasn't overwhelming, but he put up a very respectable 20 goals and 37 points, and he was showing constant progression all last season. And this year, Andre has truly elevated his game. 24 goals, 57 points in 61 games, so just under a point per game. And for a Carolina team who has a surplus of those high-end defensemen, they're of course going to prioritize their forward core, and they made no mistake in drafting a franchise winger in Svechnikov, as Andre has already had many highlight reel goals, including not 1, but 2 mission goals this season. Just crazy. Svechnikov is a stud. And finally, with the first overall pick, the Buffalo Sabres draft their cornerstone defenseman in Rasmus Dahlin. And Dahlin had a lot of hype coming into this draft, and he was even being compared to Nicholas Lindstrom. And for good reason. As Dahlin is the definition of a complete defenseman. He can skate, he can hit, he can defend, he can be the quarterback on your power play. Dahlin can do anything, and he is definitely not disappointed so far in his NHL career. As Dahlin has been a very positive note on a struggling Sabres franchise, and if it wasn't for Pettersson and Binnington's arrival last season, he would have ran away with that Calder Trophy. And this season, Dahlin has continued to make positive progression on his all-around game. And he is still only 19 years old. That is just crazy. Dahlin is someone I envisioned on taking home many Norris trophies throughout his career. We are not even one full season into Hughes' career, and he's already displaying the traits of a superstar defenseman. And it is truly scary to think that Hughes is only 20 years old and is drastically improving as the season goes on. Because at this point in any player's rookie season, we usually see a steep drop off in consistency, as they're not used to playing that man's game, especially in an 82 game season. But Quinn, on the other hand, has truly elevated his game. And on top of this, he's routinely played over 25 minutes per game, really just taking charge of the entire Canucks blue line. And as the season goes on, this rookie race is going to be extremely interesting because Cale Makar, in his own right, has just been astounding. And for most of the season, he was the Calder frontrunner, but as of recently, Hughes is right there with him. Now, personally, I still think that Makar has the edge over Hughes, but more and more analysts have been crowning Hughes as the next Calder winner. I guess only time will tell. So why? Why were 6 players drafted ahead of Hughes in the 2018 NHL draft? Well, to be honest, it was a combination of things, since Hughes had the upside of being a top 3 pick, hands down. In fact, many teams actually ranked him just behind Rasmus Dahlin, Svechnikov, and then Hughes. And then a large factor to this is the fact that Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Barrett Hayton jumped up from being around the top 10 mark to the top 5, so that was definitely a large factor in why Quinn Hughes fell all the way down to 7. Because that jump in draft stock also forced Zadina to fall all the way down to number 6, where Detroit was kind of a lock to pick Hughes. Because personally, I see Hughes as the second best player in this draft. Now, there definitely is an argument for Svechnikov. I personally see Hughes. I see it both ways, but personally, I see Hughes. So definitely a pretty interesting story because this draft is already looking to be very good. And make sure that subscribe button for some more awesome hockey content. On a side note, guys, I've been sick. Sorry for the lack of uploads. I hope to get more consistent here as I get better. I'm finally feeling better today. And thank you guys so much for all the support. We just passed 7,500 subscribers. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, guys. That is just insane. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.